As Donald Trump fires up his crowds, Democrats strike back.
So you can say Trump and his friend Putin are the founder of ISIS.
Trump spells out his plan to destroy ISIS, while Mike Pence does the running mate shuffle.
Then why is he saying he was sarcastic?
Well, he was making a very serious point. And look, it's so important.
Why did he say he was being sarcastic?
Yeah, well, he was making a very serious point.
We'll put the debate in context. Fox News host Juan Williams joins us once again, while Mayors Buckhorn and Kriseman are back for our political game show segment with our panel of stars. This is Money, Power, and Politics. We'll start with the big 3 points of the night. And the first big point, Trump is doubling down on a very different kind of strategy.
We're making a big move for the state of Connecticut, just so you understand.
Well, Connecticut only has 7 electoral votes, hasn't gone Republican in nearly 30 years. But while Trump is sinking in the big battleground states, he's bearing down on little blue Connecticut.
Normally that wouldn't happen because a Republican, in theory, doesn't win Connecticut and all that.
Well, Trump has previously said he can also win in Democratic strongholds of California, where he's now down around 20 points, and New York, where a new poll shows him losing by 25.
There was a theory of a Trump victory that went something like this. He will take some old blue states and turn them red. Now what's happening is purple states are turning blue.
Second big point of the night, tough press coverage is getting under Trump's skin to the point of taking him off message yet again.
I'm not running against crooked Hillary Clinton. I'm running against the crooked media.
His supporters are trying to help him focus. As Rudy Giuliani says, you run against one person, you don't run against the entire world.
I'll tell you the advice I give him. You have one person to attack, Hillary Clinton.
And here's Trump's response.
I'm not running against crooked Hillary Clinton. I'm running against the crooked media.
And big point number 3, Republicans are now worried about losing the U.S. Senate. Check out the Senate races. Look at the map here. Democrats have to flip 4 states to take over the Senate. And while polls show Republicans can pick up the state of Nevada, Democrats can flip Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania based on current polling. And if those polls hold up, that's a net gain of 4, enough for the Democrats to control the Senate. In just a couple of minutes, we'll drill into foreign policy and Trump's new proposal on screening immigrants. And Fox News host Juan Williams would join me to put the immigration debate in context. But first, it's Monday night and time for the Battle of Tampa Bay. It's our takeoff of the old Hollywood squares with political trivia and our own panel of stars who crack jokes and sometimes try to bluff our contestants. And our contestants are the mayors of Tampa and St. Petersburg. So Director Darren, take it away.
One of these stars is sitting in the secret square, and the contestant who picks it could win a special prize. Which star is it? John Wilson, Matt Towery, Vanessa Rufus, Laura Moody, Russell Rhodes, Jeff Tewksbury, Linda Hurtado, Marissa Lynn, or Charlie Belcher. All in the political squares. And here is the master of the political squares, Craig Patrick.
Well, how about that? Welcome once again. We're back with another round of political squares. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to our stars who are joining us. It's good to have them here. Also, it's very good to have our mayors back once again. Mayor Rick Kriseman of St. Petersburg, Mayor Bob Buckhorn of Tampa. So we're evened up 1-1. This is going to be a critical game. What's going through your head, Mayor Kriseman?
It's a lot of pressure, you know. I mean, St. Pete, Tampa. Whew.
All right.
We gotta pull this one out.
You're bringing your A game today, right?
I am. I don't have as much time to watch TV as he does, but I'm going to do the best I can.
Well, Mayor Kriseman, here you go. You're up.
So we got to go with Charlie in the middle.
Charlie Belcher, popular guy, the center square. Once again, Charlie, you ready?
I am ready. Wait. Now I'm ready.
Which prominent member of Congress likened his job to being a garbage man?
I think most of the constituents say that they are the actual garbage. But enough about that. I didn't say that. That's what some people might say. They remind me of the guys at the circus who sweep up past the elephants. I think that was John Boehner. I think Boehner said that.
I'm going to disagree.
You're going to disagree, and with that, You missed it.
Are you kidding me?
Boehner, told you.
Actually, that was John Boehner. He was referring to fundraising, I believe. And with this, Mayor Buckhorn and the city of Tampa gets that square circle. Gets the square. That's a good start.
It's a good start. Good start. I like it.
Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Marissa.
Marissa Lynn, once again. This is a big one.
I am totally ready.
Okay, who said, Marissa, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen?
Craig, that was Harry S. Truman, and it comes from a story that goes like this. He was cooking in the kitchen one day. He had his cookbook, and it told him to cover the bottom of the pan with grease. So that's exactly what he did. He put grease on the bottom of that pan, and as he set it on the stove, flames everywhere. Okay, that's not an actual story, but Harry S. Truman did say that.
I don't know about that story, but she says it's Harry S. Truman. What do you think?
I think she's right.
She is absolutely right. Once more, boy, this is an advantage. Mayor Buckhorn in Tampa. I think Mayor Kriseman to block this thing. I think I know where you're going next.
Yeah, I got to go with John Wilson for the block.
John Wilson for the block. Here we go.
Do me right, John.
As an actor, this famous Republican presidential candidate earned a Razzie Award for Worst Supporting Actor.
That's me. No. That's Donald Trump. That's obviously Donald Trump.
All right, he's saying it's obviously Donald Trump. Could be Ronald Reagan. He was an actor. Is John Wilson bluffing?
I think John Wilson is bluffing. I disagree.
Uh-oh, it was Donald Trump. We have another big win for Mayor Buckhorn.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Well, let's take a look at that clip that earned him the Razzie for Worst Supporting Actor.
In this room, there are knives sharp enough to cut you to the bone, and hearts cold enough to eat yours as hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. It cost you the game, but don't worry, you've got one more round to try to even this out, and we're going to have a fourth and final round in our Battle of the Bays. There we go. I think he's trash talking over here a little bit.
I think he is.
Okay, it's all going to come down to the final round next week. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you all for Political Squares next week. And check out our YouTube channel for more Political Squares and parody and satire segments. On YouTube, search for Craig Patrick's Money, Power, and Politics and click subscribe. You can also check out our show's mailbag and the new job we gave to Charlie Belcher.
I'm the one delivering now because I do such a good job on Money, Power, Politics that they want me to, maybe I'll be the
Oh dear. Sorry about that, Charlie. Okay, well, beyond the humor segments, we also have serious investigations of money and politics, extended interviews and primers on the issues. We also have a breakdown day by day of the races in Florida and across the nation. And to that end, take a look at the presidential race in the state of Florida and across the nation, what you're seeing right now nationwide. You have a turning point, July 29th. That was the day after the Democratic convention. Ever since then, Donald Trump has been losing ground. Hillary Clinton has been gaining ground. But look at what has happened over the past couple of days. We chart these numbers for movement. We're not seeing much movement, though we've had a flurry of new poll numbers. So this is something to watch. Are the numbers beginning to cure, or with Donald Trump's focus on foreign policy, will we see more movement in his favor over the next 72 hours? Keep an eye on that later this week. Coming up, we'll go back to the issue that fueled Trump's surge last year. Co-host of The Five, Juan Williams, is back to help us explain the immigration debate. And we'll key into state politics and show you how the candidates match up in the primaries.
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists.
Donald Trump took off in the Republican race on the issue of immigration, but the debate over immigration policy has played out many times before, and it drove big changes in the 1960s that reshaped our population and much of our culture and politics. And in his book, We the People, Juan Williams showed how President John Kennedy and his brother, Senator Ted Kennedy, made that happen. And with that, he puts the debate that's playing out today in context. Okay, once again, please welcome Fox News host, analyst, columnist, and author of We the People, Juan Williams. This is a book of figures who reshaped the framers' vision of our country. And the hot-button issue that drove Donald Trump to the top of the Republican pack was immigration. How did President John Kennedy and his brother, Senator Ted Kennedy, change the game?
Craig, this is such a fascinating story. It's the first chapter in We the People because I agree with you. Immigration is the issue that has, well, it's been a springboard, if you will, for Donald Trump. His talk about building a wall, his talk about keeping Muslims out of the country. has promised to get rid of the illegal aliens in our midst. This is Donald Trump's issue. And even going back to arguing that President Obama really wasn't born in this country, immigrants and immigration seems to have really touched a nerve with Donald Trump. But, you stop and think about the Kennedy brothers. The Kennedy brothers were the great-grandchildren of Irish immigrants, Craig. And as such, they heard about how Irish immigrants were mistreated by the Protestant Brahmin British in New England when the Irish Catholics first arrived. And when they came to power, when President Kennedy was elected, and then when his brother came to the Senate after President Kennedy's assassination, there was a real effort on their part to say we need to change immigration laws to make sure that immigrants from around the world, not just from Western Europe, but from around the world, would be welcome to America, to the beacon of democracy and freedom and political rights. That was an interesting argument. It carried the day. And look at the consequence today. We have now more than 60 million people, immigrants born in other countries, who have come since that 1965 Immigration Reform Act. We have today the case that most of the immigrants coming into the country are Asian. The founding fathers would be astounded, Craig. They would say, are you kidding? Most of the immigrants coming are from Asia? Again, to them, it would be like, who created this modern America? And that's why I wrote the book, to tell people about folks like the Kennedy brothers who changed the immigration law, changed America as we know and live in it, experience it daily.
They drove those reforms of 1965, but do you think they could have done it if America faced the threat of terrorism that we face here today?
No, I think it would have been far more difficult. It was difficult even back in those days. They were successful in getting bipartisan support. But again, people had questions about how this will impact the traditions of the country, the customs of the country. Would it cause racial animosity and strife to increase? All those questions were there. Now you come forward to 2016, Hispanics are the second largest racial group in the country after whites. Blacks now third. Again, all of this would have played in. I think it would have made it far more difficult to say, oh yeah, open the doors far wider and bring in people from Latin America, the Caribbean, from Africa, from the Middle East, from Asia. This would have made it much more of the issue that we know of today, where President Bush in 2006 tried to simply reshape the immigration laws to deal with the high number of illegal immigrants in the country. And he couldn't do it because people in his own party, especially conservative talk show hosts, said, we don't want it. We don't see that this is actually going to stop illegal immigration in the country. So you see how much of a distance we've traveled from 65 to 2016.
Juan Williams, thank you so much for your time, author of We the People.
Craig, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Well, Donald Trump won the Republican nomination by calling for big changes, of course, in immigration policy. And he linked illegal immigration to a threat to national security. And that's where Trump turned his focus yet again today. In his foreign policy speech in Ohio, Trump once again blamed Hillary Clinton for the rise of ISIS. He linked the war on terror to an ideological fight like our Cold War with the Soviets. And he vowed to end nation building and focus on fighting radical Islam. And also, as campaign sources first reported, he wants to modify or clarify his call for a ban on foreign visitors. Trump, who has said he wanted to temporarily ban all Muslims in the country who are not Americans, said that he wants to ban immigration and visits from countries that have heavy terrorist activity, and that he wants to ban places where our government cannot properly screen the applicants. And that's an issue that's already working into our races here in Florida. Coming up, we'll show you how Florida's U.S. Senate race is shaping up, how the fights are playing out, and which way they're tilting. Well, Florida has one of the hottest and most talked about Senate races in the nation. And we have an interesting medical marijuana fight and some fascinating U.S. House races all across the state. So we'll start with Evan Axelbank and the race that could determine which party controls the Senate.
When Marco Rubio went back on his pledge,
there's no way you'll be on the ballot.
Nothing's changed from the last time I've spoken to you about this. You know, that's the decision I made.
The biggest name in Florida politics effectively laid it all on the line after being eviscerated by Donald Trump in the presidential primary.
Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Gentlemen, gentlemen.
You ought to show up.
Gentlemen, you gotta do better than those.
This guy has the number one
Mr. Trump, may I ask you, Mr. Trump, I'd like to ask you a policy
He focused on Florida again.
We're talking about 75, 80,000 jobs directly related to the industry.
Keeping his Senate seat keeps him in the presidential discussion for 2020. But a loss would mean that he'd lost twice in his home state in a matter of a year. Enter Carlos Baruf, a land developer hoping to unseat Rubio even before he gets to face a Democrat.
You are not a politician. Tell me why you want to be one.
I don't want to be a politician ever.
He's hoping to catch Trump-type sales, but is running against not only big-name Rubio, but in a year where much of the state's energy seems focused on the presidential race. Baruf trailed Rubio by 30 points in a recent poll. One wonders if he would have a different answer to this in hindsight.
Are you concerned that Marco Rubio may get back in the race?
No, the more the merrier.
Then there are the Democratic suitors. Palm Beach Congressman Patrick Murphy has the support of President Obama and is trying to give the race a national feel, arguing that Rubio is a Trump lapdog who is out of step with Florida on gay rights and abortion.
Why in the world would Floridians want him again? He's flip-flopped on key issues like immigration reform. He has missed a historic amount of votes.
While Murphy's background as a CPA has come under fire after a blistering investigative story by WFOR in Miami, Murphy insists that recent polls show he is the best shot to beat Rubio. For the Democratic nomination, he is running against Orlando Congressman Alan Grayson, who has fought accusations of spousal abuse and even pleas from top Democrats that he clear the path for Murphy.
You pushed me, sir. You pushed me.
Two frontrunners, two underdogs, one crucial Senate seat.
Well, in the Republican Senate race, polls give Marco Rubio a big lead over Carlos Baruf. In the Democratic race, Murphy appears to have a slight lead over Alan Grayson, but the race in November is shaping up to be a nail-biter either way. Coming up, we'll work through the other key races in Florida, show you how Robert De Niro just jumped into the fray, and who scored the line of the night. Well, Robert De Niro turned some heads in Bosnia. By the way, those taxis, yeah, that is another taxi driver by the name of Travis Bickle that was portrayed some 40 years ago by Robert De Niro himself. And De Niro turned heads as he accepted the Lifetime Achievement Award in Bosnia by comparing his crazy, deranged character from that taxi driver movie to Donald Trump. Take a look.
I think people now are starting to really push back. The media, they've given him all this attention, and finally they're starting to say, come on, Donald, this is ridiculous. This is nuts. This is insane. Shouldn't even be where he is, so God help us.
Well, if anything, that may just fire up Trump supporters and say this is just another example of liberal Hollywood out to get him. But nonetheless, that is the line of the night. We will see you again tomorrow night. We have a lot of ground to cover on the races, specifically here in Florida. Also, check out our YouTube channel. And once again, we will see you tomorrow night. Take care.